Welcome back to the review space. In this video, I'm going to talk about the top 10 horror movies of all time. That's right, the horror movie genre. Perfect for Halloween, at least around Halloween time. This video might get uploaded after Halloween, but oh well, screw it. You know, I'm in the mood. I've been watching a lot of horror movies lately, and these are the top 10 ones that I could think of that really left a lasting impact on my imagination, and it really made me... It stood out, and it really made me feel like, wow, that was an awesome movie, that was a great film. Even if it was just a one-time watch, even if I just saw it the first time. Also, I'm not going to include more than one movie from each franchise or each series, if it is a series, because just to make it more fair for this particular top 10 list. Anyway, number 1. An American Werewolf in London. This is a 1981 British-American horror comedy film. So I'm just going to go over the summary. It was basically about these two young American dudes, and they go overseas. They go to, I guess they go to, the British Isles, and then they were attacked by a werewolf on a backpacking holiday in England. That's right, there you go. And then Jack was killed. David is taken to a London hospital where his disturbing apparitions of his dead friend tells him that he's a werewolf. He has become a werewolf, and he'll transform at the next full moon. Tremendous film. I love the special effects in this movie. I haven't seen it in many years. It's been quite a while, but this was a tremendous, amazing movie. Probably the best werewolf movie ever made, particularly because of the practical effects, because of the awesome, wicked special effects. This was early 80s horror movie classic. Great special effects. I mean, that's what this movie built its reputation on. I mean, that's why it was such a great, well-received film. The story was pretty good. The acting was good. There is comedy to it, and it wasn't like super campy or anything. It was just certain situations would feel comical, and it would feel almost like kind of an absurd situation. But this was a tremendous movie. I did not like the later versions of this film. I think they had An American Werewolf in Paris back in the 90s with bad CGI and everything, but this is an early 80s classic. I can't stress it enough how awesome the special effects is in this movie. The special effects are tremendous, and it's something to be seen. It's, again, the best werewolf movie probably of all time. I know they had the Howling also from around the same decade. But The Howling was great too, also great special effects, but this one felt like it had a better storyline, it had a better characters, and I just enjoyed the story a lot better. I just thought it was a better delivered, better paced, better plot. The whole thing, the entire movie is just entertaining from beginning to end, and I really was invested in these characters. So I think it's a must-watch. Easily one of the top 10 horror movies of all time, An American Werewolf in London from the early 80s. Number 2, The Return of the Living Dead. This was from 1985, an American horror comedy movie. So here we go again with the horror comedy stuff. But this was absolutely a likable movie. Very charismatic film. It was kind of funny, but it wasn't even that it was funny. Just similar to the American Werewolf film in London. This one also had an absurdity about it. It was like, oh my god, I can't believe that they have jokes within the context of these horrific monsters and these flesh-eating creatures. You have the werewolf movie with some comedy elements, and then you have this zombie movie with comedic elements. Basically, the story was, it was a warehouse owner. He was accompanied by his 2 employees, a mortician friend and a group of teenage punks, and they have to deal with the accidental release of a horde of brain-hungry zombies. The film introduced the popular concept of zombies eating brains, as opposed to just eating human flesh. Tremendous frickin' film. Loved it. It was a critical success, but you know what? As a fan of these zombie-type movies, I don't love the zombie genre, because I think that it either works really well or it really sucks, depending on the delivery of the zombies and the storyline and everything. But this particular film, this Return of the Living Dead, absolutely awesome film, because the characters are really likable. Very charismatic and interesting characters. They had that female character where she would take off her clothes. She was like an exhibitionist. She was kind of like a punk rocker. She was really memorable, and she really stood out. And so, same with the other characters. You got that zombie at the basement, and he was like a funny zombie. He was like a dead zombie, but it was a zombie that had a very comical feel to him, a comical presentation about it, and the entire movie is just this likable horror film. I mean, it's a horror movie. People die and everything, and there is an amount of gore in this movie and an amount of horrific elements for sure, but still a very watchable film. The soundtrack was tremendous. The music was great. The scenario was great. I mean, the entire film was a very entertaining movie from the mid-'80s. I wish I got a chance to see it in theaters way back then. I wish I was alive back then to see it. It became a cult classic, and it did have some sequels. I thought the sequels were kind of a mixed bag, not nearly as good as this, the mid-1980s original. But, as the sequels gradually, came out, they just got worse and worse, in my opinion. But this one is definitely one of the best zombie movies of all time, hands down. Tremendous, great characters, very likable, love the scenario, like the storyline. Everything was great about this movie. Number 3, Dawn of the Dead. This was known internationally as Zombie, with an I at the end. This was from 1978, from the late 80s. It was an indie action horror film from America, from George A. Romero. And this was an absolute freaking classic, because in my opinion, this was the best out of the Dead series. Like, you got the Night of the Living Dead, and I think Day of the Dead was also another one. But this was Dawn of the Dead, and this one took place at that infamous mall. And this film is just tremendous. Loved it when I saw this the first time. And what I liked about it was the setting, the gritty feel of it, the fact that they could go into this mall and they could basically utilize whatever was available at the time. I mean, this would be a late 70s mall, so whatever was available in the late 70s, some typical stuff that you would find at the big mall, and they were able to use them as weapons or accessories, some kind of gimmicks, in order to fight off the zombies and some of the other people that would come in there, some of the bad guys that they would have to face in this film. And I like the characters. They were likable. I rooted for them. I wanted them to survive, most of them. And this also had that famous the mall thing, which would influence other franchises and other things in the future. Video game franchises, for example, like Dead Rising. Dead Rising owes everything to Dawn of the Dead, being setting in a freaking mall, having that particular environment, using the weapons. So there's many things from Dawn of the Dead that would influence later franchises, later IPs, later zombie-type scenarios. Awesome freaking movie. As far as the remake, I don't want to touch too much on it. I thought the remake from the mid-2000s was okay, not nearly as gripping as Dawn of the Dead from the late 70s. 1978 classic for sure. Loved it. Enjoyed it. It was awesome, off the hook. Even though, yeah, it is a little bit dated, especially because it's 2016, and some of the presentation is it's very 1970s-ish. But the very core of this movie is that it's a horror movie about survival. It's a zombie movie. They gotta fight off these freaking killing machines, basically, but they're really slow, and so they gotta survive in this freaking mall environment. It really is a survival horror action adventure experience in movie format from the 1970s. Great film. Number 4, Halloween. Halloween, baby. Another one from the late 70s. 1978, an American indie slasher film directed by John Carpenter, and also the music from John Carpenter. Tremendous film. Now, this was more out of respect, because I had to struggle to really put some really influential and great movies at the same time in this list. All I remember was that Halloween was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I liked the character. It largely influenced later slasher movies. This wasn't the first slasher movie of its kind, but it was certainly the one that left a lasting impression from the late 70s. It wasn't the first slasher movie because there's been other ones before in the 1970s, but this one was a very creepy movie. It had a suspenseful nature about it. The main villain, you could say, Michael Myers himself, was this just killing machine. He was just walking death. That's what he was. He just murdered because that's his function. Halloween is absolutely tremendous. I think that every slasher fan should check this out to see the roots of this genre, to see the seeds of this genre really come to life and really executed perfectly. Near perfectly. I mean, obviously many decades have passed since, so it's kind of certain elements of this film is, just like with Dawn of the Dead, have been kind of outdated. It feels a little bit dated. It feels a little bit, you might even say hokey, or just kind of, oh, that's so, I can't believe those special effects, or I can't believe that scenario happened. I can't believe she's doing that, or this character's doing this. But, that being said, Halloween is still great, still is kind of a creepy movie. It still has, the music is great, the soundtrack is great, and as far as the remake is concerned, with the Rob Zombie and all that, I mean, it's not even close. This film has the suspense. This film has the thrilling aspects of a serial killer, and that's what makes it creepy. The Rob Zombie movies were all right in their own world, in their own right, in their own respective critical acclaim. But the original Halloween movie and the sequel too. I also enjoyed Halloween 2. From, I guess it was the early 1980s. So, the 70s, early 80s Halloween films, the first two, 1 and 2, absolutely tremendous. Definitely some of the best slasher movies of all time. Number 5, Near Dark. Near Dark came out in the late 80s, 1987, the same year that I was born. This was an American Western horror movie, directed by Kathryn Bigelow. And I remember this film just having really likable characters. This was basically about this young guy. He's in a small Midwestern town. He runs into these family. It's basically a family of nomadic vampires. And they never really fully blatantly say in the movie that we're vampires, or that the word vampire doesn't really pop out. But it's basically completely obvious throughout the movie. And, the fact that they have issues with the sunlight. They have fangs. They drink frickin' blood. And that's... The core of this movie is that it's a great horror movie with family elements. And they're very humanized vampires, too. You feel kind of sorry for them. You feel bad for them, some of the stuff that they gotta go through in this movie, because then you're seeing this family of vampires basically just trying to survive, trying to live their lives. Very charismatic performances. I really enjoyed it. Bill Paxton, from what I understand, I mean, this guy is just a tremendously talented guy, but he plays this really charismatic character in this movie. Bill Paxton is the frickin' man, and he really made this movie extra special. The film was part of a revival of serious vampire movies in the late 1980s, according to the description here. And, I wasn't even alive. Well, I was technically alive in the late 80s, but I wasn't really old enough back then to appreciate it. But I guess when this came out, it also reinvigorated the vampire films and made it more gritty and made it more serious, and have not so much a cartoonish presentation, but rather a more serious presentation. Characters that were believable, or characters that had a more dimension to them. Number 6, Suicide Club. Yes, so this came from Japan, a Japanese movie. In Japan, it was known as Suicide Circle. Now, the Suicide Club came out in the early 2000s, like 2001, way back in the day. So this was an independent movie, and this was absolutely tremendous. Basically, the film was about a wave of seemingly unconnected suicides that took place in Japan. It became like this plague. People were killing themselves out of the blue. And then the police, they're trying to see and determine the reasons behind this bizarre happening. The Suicide Club became became a cult movie in many ways, and it became controversial, and there was definitely gory special effects as well in this film. I love this movie. I really enjoyed it, especially the first time I saw it, which was about 8 years ago. So quite a few years after it had already came out. I just love the mysterious nature of it. It was very creepy. It felt kind of supernatural. There was like a supernatural element of people just killing themselves. At least it felt like that, where they would just kill themselves in really fucked up ways. It really made you think, and it made you care about the characters. It made you fucking question what the hell's going on. It made you think about life, and the fact that they're committing suicide, or they're attempting suicide, is just a really bizarre scenario. Great music. From what I remember, there was a musician named, I think his name was Rolly, and he had a part in this movie. And Rolly played kind of like a bizarre cult-like character, where he's involved with some of the murders in this movie, I guess. And it's just a really strange movie, but in a good way. There's a lot of cool things going on, a lot of interesting kills. Really fucking creepy movie though, and it just makes you think. This is probably one of the best movies about suicide. I mean, suicide is such a serious subject, but this film does it in a horror kind of way without being ridiculous, without being like hokey, without being dumb or stupid. It just feels creepy. It just feels uncomfortable, and that's what I like about it. It's a horror classic, and I wish more people got a chance to see it. Number 7. Alien. Alien came out in the late 70s. Now, the 70s had some great horror movies. I mean, this list is full of 70s classics. This one came out in 1979, a British-American sci-fi horror movie from Ridley Scott. Starred a bunch of characters, lots of awesome actors here. And the film was basically about this extraterrestrial creature, they would call it a xenomorph, as the, I guess the series and the mythology, the mythos of the films. It's a xenomorph creature, stalking and hiding out, creeping around this spaceship, and throughout the movie killing the crew of the spaceship. Love this movie. Awesome film. It's a classic. It's one of the best sci-fi and best horror movies of all time, hands down. Special effects, off the hook. The suspense, off the hook. The freaking atmosphere is unmatched, because you really feel like you're in this fucking ship stuck with this killing machine. It's a freaking alien, so it has all these different attributes, acid blood and things like that, and it's very menacing. It's a very menacing creature, and it's loose inside the spaceship. So I mean, these people got to survive, or at least try to survive. You got the other elements of this being a set in the future. So there's these, I guess you would call them robotic people, these human beings that are not even human, but they're mechanical or some shit. Synthetics, I guess they called them in the movie. So there's that element of it. There's the mystery of the actual company itself that gave this crew, this particular task to do this. And just a phenomenal movie. You got the female protagonist, and she's a badass in this movie. Her character development is great. You get to really root for her and like her, Sigourney Weaver's character. This movie is an absolute amazing film. The character design's great. It's a classic design. That alien thing with the freaking the alien mouth coming out of its jaws and everything. Tremendous movie, one of the best of all time. Number 8, 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later came out in the early 2000s. It's a British movie from Danny Boyle, directed by Danny Boyle. So this came out in 2002, and I remember when this came out, there was a lot of buzz after it came out when people, watched it and everything. But I didn't know how amazing this movie was going to be, because with zombie movies, I was kind of a mixed bag with zombie films. Some are really good, and some are just freaking disappointing pieces of trash, you know what I mean? They weren't particularly great. And I think around that time, movies like Resident Evil came out, and other like zombie type things, historically, and I just wasn't too excited when this movie came out. But then after seeing it, it was absolutely tremendous. Loved the characters, the scenarios were the drama in this movie. My God, and the human condition of basically being the survivors in this post-apocalyptic scenario. There's a few survivors left. They got to try to survive. They're driving around this city, this desolate area, this desolate city, trying to find something that can help them, trying to get food, what have you, trying to get help from people. And they go through different problems and issues, and they got to survive somehow. They got to go through with it. And then ultimately coming into that, I guess it was kind of like a military base or a military holdout from those military army guys, and then the problems there and that occurred in that particular scenario, leading up to the final sequences of the movie. Absolutely great movie. I also like the music. The music was also tremendous. The acting was great. It was a realistic, gritty movie. It made the zombies fast moving, so they were like speedy zombies. I guess they had, I don't know, like rage virus or something like that. The rage zombies, where they were really fast as opposed to the slow, lumbering, slow movies of yesterdecade. But it was great. I still liked it. It made the zombies more intimidating. It made them more deadly. It made them more menacing. It made them more of a threat, I think. And it really did reinvigorate the zombie genre, in my opinion. It really made it feel like, wow, this is a brand new take on zombies, and it made it, it refreshed it. It made it feel like this is a new cool thing. Zombies are back again, and this was 28 Days Later, awesome film. And don't even get me started on 28 Weeks Later, fucking sucked. I didn't like that movie at all. I thought it was a disappointment. Just stick to 28 Days Later. This movie, awesome, off the hook. Number 9, Let the Right One In. Let the Right One In. This was from 2008. It's a Swedish movie. This movie was basically about this kid. He was bullied, you know what I mean? A 12-year-old boy. He's getting bullied by other kids, basically, and he develops this friendship with a vampire kid. And they're living in Stockholm, you know what I'm saying? And it was set in the 1980s, which is kind of an interesting time. I mean, your typical like 2000s thing, like after the mid-late 2000s, the 80s kind of came back. They really try to somehow, for some reason, the 80s just became a thing. I guess it's kind of like a 20 years ago kind of thing. Kind of like how now in the 2010s, the 90s is back. The 90s trends and 90s fads and little things that came in the 90s came back in the 2010s. So in the 2000s, this movie came in 2008. This movie was set in the early 80s. And what I loved about this movie was that it was the characters. The characters were really likable. The characters were somebody that you can relate to, and it also had the elements of, I guess, kind of like a romantic relationship between these people, between the characters. And so you really like them. You really, you see them in a very humanized way, and even the vampire is a very humanistic, relatable character. You like them because it's like they're protagonists. You like them. You want them to win in the end. And so when this young boy has to deal with shit, and he has to go through all these different hardships, especially that ending sequence, that was amazing. It felt so... It felt creepy, but also cathartic at the same time. There's a catharsis to this movie. Catharsis to this movie, where it felt like they went through some shit, but they got through it. They went through some hard shit, and he had to deal with it. And it's just a great feeling movie. One of the best, if not the best, vampire movie. Especially involving kids, which makes it even more special. Normally I hate kids in movies. I fucking hate them. I can't stand them. I think kids in movies are just an annoying distraction for the most part. But when it gets it right, and when the kids are great, and they can act really well, and it it's fitting for the movie, and they don't take away from the movie. They add to it and make it feel more special. Let the Right One In is an awesome fucking film. I've never even seen the remake. I believe they had an American remake or some shit. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm all about the original because that's what you gotta see. The Swedish version from 2008, Let the Right One In, awesome movie. Number 10, The People Under the Stairs. Oh man, this one came out in 1991, an American horror film from Wes Craven. Now, Wes Craven, rest in peace, right? I mean, this guy's a freaking legend. Now, in my opinion, this is my favorite Wes Craven movie of all of them. And he's had some really good horror movies, but this one I just love because this was somewhere in between his Nightmare on Elm Street era and the freaking Scream series. So in between that, this was a great mixture of kind of almost like a surreal element mixed with that very gritty, thrilling, suspenseful presentation. He gives you that sense of anxiety, and he does that really, really well, Wes Craven. In this film, there was a lot of times when I felt very sympathetic towards the characters, and I felt anxious too. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of like dread, a lot of feeling like, holy shit, please escape, please survive. I was rooting for the characters the whole time because it felt like the whole movie was a long, giant cat and mouse game. You know, like a chase scene or a cat and mouse thing where the villains are constantly trying to go after the main character and trying to kill them, get rid of them, what have you. Basically, the storyline was you have these black people, and they live in this ghetto in Los Angeles. And so you have this young man, his family, they're being evicted from their apartment by the Robsons, or the Robsons. These were the landlords, and they call themselves Mommy and Daddy. There's some weird shit going on there, kind of a weird, strange family, but apparently they have a lot of money, you know what I mean? And they got a young daughter named Alice. Leroy, his associate Spencer, and this kid named Fool, they break into the Robsons' household by using Spencer to pose as a municipal worker. The Robsons leave the home shortly, but Spencer doesn't return. Fool and Leroy break into the house to look for Spencer, and they find his dead body and a large group of strange, pale children in a locked pen in a dungeon-like basement. And the story just goes off like that. It's a fucking bang, this movie. This movie doesn't slow down. This movie is just tremendously, it gives you the creeps. It makes you feel like, holy fucking shit, what's gonna happen next? I just love this film. This is an awesome, thrilling movie. It gives me anxiety. It makes me root for the characters constantly, just like with the Scream movies. You know, when you watch the Scream movies, and it feels like the villain or the killer, Ghostface, is gonna kill somebody, and they always have this running chase scene where he falls down, but he gets back up, and he has to chase them again, and he's got the big knife in his hand. It's always like that with this film too. This film has those elements of dread, anxiety, running away, that kind of thing, and I just love that, because the thing too with this movie is I like the setting, this weird creepy house, this fucking weird bizarre house, and basically you got these murderers. They're fucking murderers, and they're trying to kill the main characters that are stuck in this fucking house. And then there's also the element of the daughter, the young daughter Alice, and she's also involved with it somehow, and she's got to deal with it too. So, similar to the movie Aliens from the 1980s, where they had that young girl, I think her name was Newt, this film has Alice. So, a likable young girl character. The People Under the Stairs, classic film, and I honestly like this. I would say I like this better than the Scream series, and of course the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. This movie's just way better than that. So, The People Under the Stairs from the early 90s, an underrated classic, one of the best horror films from the 90s for sure. So that's it for this episode of The Review Space. Those are my top 10 horror movies of all time. I highly recommend every single one. You watch every single one of these films. Go check them out if you ever get the chance. And they're all classics to me. They're easily the best from that genre. Not all of them are pure horror. Some have a mixture of comedy or a mixture of some other elements such as science fiction or action or something like that. But at the same time, they have a horror element to them at the end of the day. They're trying to scare you and make you feel a dread, a sense of trying to fucking creep you out, ultimately. So that's what I like about these movies. Tremendous films. That's it for this episode of The Review Space. Thank you guys for watching. Check out the channel for more videos. Subscribe and all that good stuff. And until next time, peace.